All right, guys, we got Wes here. Wes is the owner of Elite Finish. They're a detailing shop in San Diego. They do amazing work, but I'm gonna give it to you right now. If you could introduce yourself, kind of tell me what you guys do, who you are, and all that.
For sure. Well, yeah, so West Walls, and I started Elite Finish Auto Detailing in Idaho. I lived up there for like 5 years, and that was 13 years ago. And it started with me. I fell in love with my brand new WRX and wanted to take care of it. And once I realized how meticulous I was and what I could do with paint, I just kind of like dove really, into detailing. Fast forward now, I'm Elite Finish down here in San Diego, and we're much more than a detail shop. I mean, we're offering paint protection film as well as ceramic coatings and high level paint correction. We really we enjoy doing a lot of styling. I like taking cars as they come from the factory and finding the kind of natural each car lends to. Not every car sort of you can do just the same cookie cutter modifications to, and I enjoy that. I think it's cool to like look at a car and say, oh, if we change these wheels this way or throw some spacers on, or if we powder coat the wheels or we change the trim color, maybe get rid of the amber side markers on a Porsche or something, whatever it is, right? There's all these little subtle full characteristic of the car.
What was it about paint correction, like to start or detailing to start, that really kind of captivated you, right? Because to start a business, it's more than just, oh, I want to do this, I want to get paid. Like there's always, because at the beginning it's never that, right? You're not making
Yeah.
the money at the beginning. So what
No.
captivated you about paint correction, detailing, all that made you want to do it?
Where I fell in love with it at the beginning was I was working on my car and my neighbor saw me waxing my paint and was like, oh, he kind of jokingly was like, hey, will you do my car next? And I said yes. And he was like, oh, okay. And I don't think he expected me to just yes and then close him on the deal, you know. And so I charged him $100 and I spent all day. But what was cool is I have no as a detailer. There's programs out there, but especially when I was getting into it, there wasn't a lot of like classes. But what he said to me when I was done was that it was the best detail he'd ever had. And literally his was the second car I ever did. My car was first. And I actually did
Uh,
more on his car than mine because my car was brand new. So I just basically put all the protectants on. His car
yeah,
needed like deep scrubbing and things. And I just kind of figured it out, and I think I enjoy that problem solving, you know? So
yeah, that
that's
makes
really
sense.
where it
Yeah.
started. But then it became a necessity. I was in the mortgage business, dude, at the time, and this was 2008, 2009 when
Oh,
real estate was
rough.
crashing. And I mean, I fell behind on my mortgage. I was like in this like really bad spot, and I used detailing as a way to basically pay the bills. But as I kept developing, I wanted more and more and more, and then I fell in love like at a really high level with it, and I made the decision to make it my career. And paint correction, when I got into that, it was yeah, there was detailers that were doing high level buffing and stuff, and paint correction was kind of a new term, and it was to really separate bad buff jobs from good buff jobs. And so the term paint correction was being used by the high level detailers.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I watched them on YouTube, and the reality is, again, people weren't, especially back then, all the high end guys wanted to keep the information close to their vest. They didn't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to share it. So, but what I would do is I would watch their marketing videos and just watch their hand movement and things like that. And I just started emulating it. And more than anything, seeing what was possible, seeing their before and afters, went, oh, that's okay. And then I would literally have, dude, you could see me in the middle of the night when I was learning paint correction on my own with like 50 to 100 pads on the floor with all these different combinations of compounds and
Just trying
polishes and
stuff.
different machine. Yeah, just trying
Yep.
different
That's the way you learn.
combinations. Yeah, man.
So, at what point did you have a moment where you're like, was there like a specific moment in time where you're like, I want to do this? Did something click with you, or was it a gradual transition from idea to a lifestyle or even a business?
I would say that there was definitely some transition involved. I mean, like I said, I was on a journey at that point. I was going through honestly really rough times because of the financial burdens. I mean, I owned a house in Idaho that I ended up actually losing to foreclosure because of everything going on. And so I was in a lot of like turmoil and struggle kind of emotionally and mentally and trying to sort through all that stuff. When I would work on the cars, it's like that stuff went away, and it's kind of it's like I used to do a lot of rock climbing, and it's like that same when you get into those types of things, right, where your mind gets focused
Shuts
in
off,
on
yeah.
on something, right, and then all the negative goes away. That happened for me with detailing, and so I would say that like, and also being able to um, you know, get a car in, do my work, make my client happy, get paid, and just keep repeating that process. There's something that's really rewarding about that. Detailing is very rewarding in the way that number one, in taking care of our clients, and then and taking care of myself. So
Yeah.
that kind of rooted me into it. But then once I started modifying my WRX, like they that first cold air intake install, on my own, hooked me to cars, and that was it. Like I didn't want it to be in any other industry, from that
So
point on.
so let's jump to what I think a lot of people want to know. Okay, there's 20,000 products on the market, right? And they all claim to do X, Y, and Z. They claim to do the best of this, best of that, best of this. So my question for you is, for the average consumer, what products can they use to clean their car, to wash, to protect, that isn't something that, number one, costs a lot, but also is actually maintainable, like it's actually doable.
Yeah. Well, look, number one, I think the most important thing, before I get into any specific products, because I don't want this to just be a pitch, of the products that I offer, right? The most important thing is that whatever product that someone buys, they make sure that they have that there's either good YouTube videos on those products or
Okay.
personalized instruction. Um, Dude, there's really not a lot of bad products on the market right now, to be honest. First of all, there's only so many chemists and so many laboratories that are making, these products. Even my own product, it's made by a detailing product manufacturer. It's my specific formula. I worked hand in hand with him to make mine the way I wanted it. But he makes like hundreds of different waterless
Yeah.
as an
But that's
example.
kind of
So
that's kind of how the world works, though. You know what I mean? That's
exactly.
that's how
Yeah.
that's how everything works.
So it's not that his other products are bad. It's
Yeah.
just that, Washmiss as an example, my waterless wash, I gave him certain feedback based on my expertise that created a product that's really easy to use, and it's very safe to use, and it does what its job is. But if I just released it with zero instruction on what towels you should use, the way you should spray it, the way you should wipe, who knows how that product would work for you. It might work great because you already have natural abilities, or you might go, this stuff is garbage, and throw it in the trash.
Yeah, of course,
So
of course.
so I say that because I see a lot of stuff out there, and I see people bashing on a certain product, and usually it's because they weren't given proper instruction. So and you can't take the information, like, especially once you start really getting to, like, say, paint correction and polishing things. How one compound behaves is not how another one's going to behave. So if you watch, a video on how to use a McGuire's compound, and then you use a Shine Supply compound and try to do the same thing, you're not going to get the results. You're going to think, oh, this stuff sucks. It doesn't work.
So a lot of it, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of it, what you're saying is the simple fact that just following instructions on a product is obviously key, right? The fact of
Yes.
the matter
Yeah.
is, you could have 17 products that are all amazing, and if you're
Yeah.
following the instructions from product number one, product number 15 may not work anywhere near that, or anywhere like
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. I see, I've seen a lot of people who their garage is filled. They're the avid DIYer, right? And their garage is filled with 10 different detail sprays and 5 different waxes and
Hey,
all
I
these
was like that
things.
before.
Yeah. And that's cool. I mean, you're trying different things. There's nothing wrong with trying different things, but you're just throwing a lot of money away at testing things blindly. At least if you're going to test something, test it with good clear instruction and then compare how it did on compared to the other products before you just stick, so that you can stick to what you like the best. If you have no instruction at all, eventually what'll happen is you'll just happen to find the product that your technique lines up with. And that's cool too, but it's just going to be a more expensive process for you to get there. One of the things that, I've done a lot of testing over the years on different things. And so the products that I sell on my website are products that we use in the shop that we've honed in on. And I make sure to, and I don't have videos on every product, but that's definitely a goal. But I make sure that there's as much instruction as possible. And when people are coming to my store to buy something, I take, as much time as needed to walk them through or show them on a car how to use it so they don't just buy a product and then it's just a
Yeah,
waste for them. Because, you know, CarPro, which is one of the brands it's the kind of the main brand I've been working with for years, they have leading edge, like they develop products first in the market often. Like Iron X was the very first product to ever come out like that.
yeah,
Essence was the very first polish to have SiO2 built into it. Like there's all these products that, maybe even the ceramic coatings and things. I mean, they're innovators, right? They have these high level, products, but I'm telling you, sometimes like the technique isn't always obvious, but once you've shown it, you're like, oh, this is so simple.
yeah,
But without being shown, like, I mean, dude, like just reload. I mean, you work with reload. If I didn't
yeah.
show you how to use it, you could very easily be like, this is the worst, most frustrating product to work with,
No, the first
right?
time I did use it, I ended up getting a little of the overspray on my windshield, and that led to like I
Mhm.
was like, why do I have this weird like it almost looked like I had like this weird discoloration in my windshield from that going
Yeah,
on there. Like there was like a like smearing or like
yeah,
and I know that I just basically sprayed and let some of the beads go onto the window and didn't wipe it off.
yeah.
Let's dive a little into paint correction. So talking paint correction, I mean, I think you could talk
Well, can
all
I
day
finish
past
answering that question real
Oh, yeah,
quick?
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
So, because you asked what products, right?
Yeah,
So, so I wanted to give a broad answer of like, you can make anything really work with proper instruction. But I'll tell you, I aligned with CarPro like 7 years ago because of their innovation and the high quality of their products. I would say the minimum in protecting or just taking care of your car is keep it clean regularly, keep it decontaminated from brake dust and environmental fallout, and keep some form of protection on there. So wash mist, I have absolutely proven time and time again that for most people it is the safest and easiest way to clean their car. You've even experienced it where you
yep,
decided to switch to water and soap and you watch your, oh, I think I just put some swirl marks in my paint.
yep,
Water and soap do not provide the same lubrication as a good waterless wash like wash mist. And wash mist is our own product. Then from there, decontaminating the paint, you can use like a clay bar or Iron X. We use synthetic clay discs or synthetic clay towels. We've got the CarPro clay towels and then the NanoSkin ultrafine synthetic clay discs. What that's doing is it's pulling the metal stuff out of the paint so that the paint feels smooth and those contaminants aren't eating into the paint. And then finally with protection, waxes are fine. There's nothing wrong with wax. They just don't last that long. So you're going to wax much more frequently. Silica-based sealants or polymer-based sealants will last longer, and then silica-based sealants last even longer than that. So CarPro Reload, or we also work with Shine Supply. It's another really great brand of high-quality products. So Shine Supply has Clutch. So CarPro's Reload or Shine Supply Clutch, both silica-based sealants, and they're going to do a really great job of dust repellency, UV protection, stain protection, things like that. Beyond that, it starts to get into the fun stuff, which is where you're leading into with paint correction. Polishing, paint correction, none of that is for protecting paint. All that is for refining paint to make it look better to fix
Yeah.
blemishes.
So here, let me interrupt you real quick.
Yeah,
So the average
no, you're
person
good.
could do what you said. Do what you said, right? Keep their paint clean, decontaminate it. The next one was seal it, correct?
Yep.
And was there anything else after that?
Those are the three basics, man. If people just keep their even look at if all they ever do is clean their car, even wash mist has a little bit of a polymer in it, so it does provide some protection. But so let's say all they ever did was wash it with wash mist, they're probably not going to experience paint failure. They might, but doing the decontamination step and then putting the protectant on top is what's going to keep their paint looking shiny and beautiful. It might end up with swirl marks over time if they make some mistakes in their washing. It might end up even with some stains over time, but it will at least stay looking shiny. So from that walk up, this from a distance, your car will still look beautiful just from those three
Yeah.
steps,
I think
and
that's
they can
something we
easily do that themselves.
I think that's something we talked about a lot, and I think it's very easy to want a product to be the one all that does everything, makes your paint shiny, keeps it clean, no swirl marks,
Yeah,
perfect. The paint just looks perfect all the time. But I think the reality of it is, and I've talked to you about this a lot, is if something looks shiny, a lot of times I think it tricks our eyes into immediately looking great. For example, my
yeah,
my M3, I noticed there's there's plenty of swirl marks in it. If you go and analyze certain sections, you'll see that. But from far away, or even right up front, if you're not looking for shining a light directly at it, you don't even notice it. And I think that's
correct.
something that just because of the gloss, and that's kind of where I was going with that. Is from my own experience using different methods that you showed me, I noticed that gloss alone to most people is what they're looking for.
Absolutely.
That they don't know that, but the most people are just looking for it to look glossy and clean.
I've had a lot of people when they call us for a quote for ceramic coating, and we ask them, "Well, what's the condition of your paint like? Does it have any swirl marks?" I've had people tell me, "Oh no, there's zero swirl marks in the paint. It's flawless." And then they show up, and we're like, um, then we're like, so we show them like when the sun's hitting the paint, we're like, "Hey, so do you see all these marks?" Yeah. They just think that's just the paint. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
those are the swirl marks. That's from improper washing. And then they're like, oh my God. And then, they had no idea. So yeah, I mean, exactly. Like if it's just shiny, most time people just don't, it's just, they think that's just the paint and it looks good anyway.
So I guess my question for you then, diving into some ceramic coatings. This is a trend that I think has happened from like 2019, maybe 2018, but 2019 and up, right? You see a ton of ceramic coatings in the market, like little bottles. They're always the little bottles, right? It stemmed from there, but obviously the real coatings come in that. But I'm just saying, there's like $20 bottles you can buy on Amazon of ceramic coating. Now, why are those any different than the high end stuff? Like, what actually makes a ceramic coating great versus something like that?
Ceramic coatings are such a, it's such a big conversation. There's a lot of drama around, like you should see, it's been better lately, but you should see it like in the last few years, the amount of fighting online about ceramic coatings. I'm not a chemist, so I'm not going to be able to answer on a molecular level. Again, number one and first and foremost is that instruction technique is so critical with the application of ceramic. It is really easy to mess up a ceramic coating, and like you messed up reload your first time, that was
Yeah,
easily fixable. Ceramic coating, you might be paint correcting or even wet sanding to fix this ceramic coating that you messed up.
gotcha. Okay.
So number one, first again, like you need to make sure that whatever you are buying, that there's really good instruction and support by the company. But then from there, the raw materials used, the way that the chemists are, you know, play with the binding agents and things like that to make them bond longer to the paint, withstand scratch damage, withstand staining, look shinier than one or they all have kind of different looks. Some look a little warmer, some look a little more reflective and shiny. Um, and then again, some are every ceramic coating is technically semi-permanent. Don't ever believe the word permanent. Um, Now that being said, you'll often hear me say that C quartz will form a permanent bond, and the reason I say that is that the bond itself that it makes, it's not letting go, but the it could be worn off.
Would you not agree that it's essentially the same idea as a clear coat, right? A clear coat's on there, it's a permanent thing, but over time, the clear coat is gonna, it's gonna be thinner and thinner over time, if not failing eventually.
It's the best analogy because it's exactly it. Like you have to logically think about that of like paint by itself isn't going to last a lifetime yet it is it's permanently put on the car, but what is it going to look like
Yeah,
after
of course.
50 years? Now, like C quartz has C quartz light. It's intended to be a light product that can actually wear off. It's really like a 1 to 2 year kind of a product. And what's nice about having a product like that is that if somebody doesn't care about that their paint is refined to perfection, and they certainly don't want to spend the money for that, but they want the attributes of a coating. They want the hydrophobic properties, easy to clean, less, or more like dust repellency. Sequartz Light's great because you're not trapping defects. And this is where the conversation, we should probably set it aside and come back to it, but it's the conversation of paint correction in combination with coating. The
Gotcha,
big
okay.
thing, the big thing with coatings that I want to speak to is when you start looking at the professionally authorized coatings, not just the products that people buy. They're looking at the stuff that's like has to be installed by a professional, right? That's where the industry gets into so much fighting because you have companies that literally the day they launch their product, they're offering 10-year warranties, lifetime
Okay.
warranties.
Gotcha,
And,
okay.
and there's zero proven anything about their abilities to do anything. And then if something actually goes wrong, they're like, "Oh, we'll see here." And dude, I'm telling you, like when you read warranties and you look at the fine print and you really read through them, they're not really those warranties aren't really covering much. They're basically covering the fact that the product was installed correctly, and then if it wasn't, then they put it on the install. It needs to be what's the proven history? There are a few brands, Seacorts being one of them, and there's some other brands that have been around for many, many, many years. I would just suggest just stick with the stuff that's proven. You know, if you're buying something on your own, Seacorts UK 3.0 is so easy to use, and it's stunning on the car. It's super solid. It really holds up to stuff. Like it's 75 bucks for a 50 mil, which can do a couple of cars, no problem. So it's
That's not bad at all.
it's not bad at all. I think it's like 55 bucks for the 30 mil, bottle. There's also a lot of you have to be very careful. It used to be that we would call it a ceramic coating or a silica sealant. Well, what's happened
Oh,
is
now it's
now
intertwined, right?
now it's intertwined.
Yeah.
So now you have these ceramic sprays. Well, it's just a silica sealant. It's a sealant, not a ceramic coating.
Let's make it a switch because I think you and I could talk products all day long. I think there are
Yeah,
1,000 different ways that we could discuss that and keep going on with the conversation. But
yeah,
I kind of want to make the jump into some like talking some specifics about some of your business. Like you guys work on a lot of high end cars, right? I would say more high end cars come through there than on like your middle of the line car. Like you typically don't see a 3 Series in there. Not to say they don't come in there. I'm saying the majority of the time I walk in
sure.
there, we have an Aston Martin in there. We have uh, we have the top model of every single car. So talk
Yeah.
to me about working with those cars. Is there actually a difference in the paint? Like, do you actually notice from an actual standpoint of like paint quality? Do you notice a difference between the paint on this high end car versus your 3 Series BMW?
Yeah, I'd rather polish a 3 Series BMW. Here's the major difference in paint with vehicles. For sure, like low level production cars or low dollar production cars are going to have not as high quality paint and probably pretty thin. Like that is a thing. But most manufactured cars, once you start getting into even like $30,000 and up, they're using pretty good paint and they're being sprayed by a robot consistently the same way in a very controlled environment. So you have a lot more consistent quality on production vehicles. With exotic cars, they're almost always hand painted.
Mm,
The down
okay.
there's some goods and some bads with that. The good is they tend to spray more paint. So you have a thicker, more, like a stronger structure of even withstanding, like, say, rock damage, and just having more paint to work with in terms of, sanding and buffing and, being able to do stuff with it. The downside is there could be thick spots and thin spots. The other downside is that, which ties into a benefit. One of the benefits is that the factories on these really high-end cars will tend to sand the paint. They'll use dual action sanders or do it by hand, a mixture of that and sanding by hand. But then they don't know how to buff very well. So, and they don't sand evenly. So the texture is smoother than a factory finish. The orange peel texture is smoother. That's a benefit. But it's not always even. Like sometimes you get close to the edge and all of a sudden you see all this texture because they were afraid to go to the edge. Or the paint's really thin. I mean, dude, like on a lot of the exotic cars, they'll preload a little thin little strip of clear bra, like say on the inside of a fender, so that the tire's not destroying the fender. But then if we're installing clear bra or paint protection film, on the whole fender, we got to take that strip off. Do you know how many times we pull paint when we do that? It's frustrating because the paint was so thin on the edge, you know, and
Okay.
and and then the other downside is now you have sanding marks. So the whole sanding conversation, not only is it uneven, so now if I were a really picky client, or if like for myself, if I had an exotic, I would want to spend a good week just like going around and sanding and buffing and getting everything else even. It forces sometimes a lot more extra work on a brand new exotic car than on a factory, or than on like just a factory produced, car.
So
But
you actually almost find more defects in these high end cars than the lower end cars, or are you just saying that there's a lot of times just more work that has to be done in terms of
yeah, there's often a lot more defects on the high-end cars. They
it's
tend to
crazy?
they tend to require a lot more work and have a lot more frustrating issues. They may not have the same like little nib marks in the paint, that you might get like Tesla. I actually really like Tesla's paint, except for their solid colors. So like on their solid black, the clear coat's not good at all. It's really easily stained. It's very weak in its structure, but all the rest of their paint is really good, but it's thin and it has a lot of weird little defects, like sanding nibs, or nib marks and sanding marks, and just weird issues, with the paint. And they actually are
So
using machines to paint, but it's a young company,
that obviously brings up an interesting topic. I think a lot of people think paint's brand new. Uh, you and I both know after us talking a lot, and at first I walked in there, I was like, oh, so paint will look like it's brand new. You're like, well, it'll look better than brand new. But
Yeah.
I think okay, so I want to transition a little bit. I want to talk about some misconceptions on the marketing side of detailing. Not necessarily on all on products, but I think products are a huge focus because that's what consumers use, right? That's what the general public. That's what people I know are going to do. Most people aren't going to bring their car to a detail shop once a week. It wouldn't happen. Like they're going to have their own set of products, and
Yep.
because of advertising and everything, they're going to get the products that they see on Instagram, off Facebook, off those things. So, what are some misconceptions that you see with advertising and just those, that stuff in general?
So one of them actually ties perfectly to what I was saying before. I've watched. There's a really, I don't want to throw them under the bus. I'm not going to mention the name, but there's a company right now that, especially for like a good year or so, they were hitting hard. It was a waterless wash with silica sealant built into it, and they grow in popularity quickly. They just hammered marketing so much they started getting out into, a lot of people buying it. But after time, people started being like, dude, this stuff's not holding up that well, right? And so the claims weren't backing, or weren't tracking. So then they go on. Their response to that was to start bashing their competition, and the way they did that was they would do these test panels and make them seem like they were these, like they were doing a proper test of like, oh, let's compare these three products
Yeah,
and see which one really holds up. Again, every product has its own set of instructions, and they weren't following the
Yeah.
instructions. So they're making they're making it appear like their product is holding up better, and it really actually doesn't. It's just that, they made it appear that way. So you just gotta, unfortunately, especially when you're not a professional in the industry, it's hard to know. But you just gotta follow your instinct as best you can. If something sounds a little too good to be true, it probably is. Even today, just from a consumer looking for us to ceramic coat their car, we ask every person when they ask us or they tell us they want a coating, we ask them, what are you hoping to accomplish? We still get so many people with the responses, I never want to see a swirl mark ever again. Well, dude,
Yeah.
like there's no magic formula, right? There's no force fields. Oh my God, if I could install a force field onto a,
The ceramic coatings, I think that's a big misconception though with any of the products is that it's just gonna be like the one fix all,
yeah.
but that's honestly, I feel like that's majority of the time, that's any industry is the fact. I think let's talk a little bit about the transition of the car that you're in. What car you sitting in right now? We do have an
it's kind of,
episode coming up on that car too. That should
it's
be
kind of
released on one
slow.
day.
It's kind of slow. I need to take you back out in it because when we made that episode, I mean, dude, I was completely learning how to drive this car for the first time with the amount of power that it has, and I was scared to just drive it, let alone have a passenger in my car. But dude,
Yeah.
I've been driving it, and oh my god, it's so fast. I'm getting used to it. So this is a 2017 GT350R, and I call it the EFR, the Elite Finish R, because um, on a 350R, one of the unique characteristics is that it has all these red accents. In fact, I don't know if you can see it, but like you got the red R right
Yeah,
here. Eventually, I'm going to actually restitch this whole interior, so it'll be light blue. But the exterior has red brake calipers. The GT350 emblems front and back are red. Um, so I've painted those to a blue that matches the blue that's part of my business
hey, don't
colors.
don't don't give away the whole
Oh,
episode over
oh,
there.
sorry. So, but yeah, so it's the whole thing is all like it's elite. It's the elite finish version. So, um, yeah. Well, what can I say then if I can't give away the episode?
They're just gonna have to watch the episode and see.
Okay, but
But
it's
it is
this
it's
is
it's
this
very
is
slow.
I will say this car is I really can't imagine driving, like owning or driving anything else. Like I've had some nice cars. Like I loved my WRX. I loved my Audi S4. I had a 2014 that I had for 3 years. I got it brand new. I had a really cool lifted Yukon before. Like had an F-150. I've had some really cool cars that I really, really liked. But I would always hit a point where I was like, okay, I'm ready to move on. Like let's see what else is out there. I'm not. I don't see how I could get rid of this car ever. I like this
Yeah.
car is so special, man.
I think there's certain cars that it's not always about horsepower or about, maybe in your case it is a little bit about horsepower. We'll talk about that later. No, but it's not always about horsepower. It's not always about, the what the brand of the car is or anything. It's like you get in the car, there's certain cars like even with like my M3, I'm like, I know it's not the fastest car out there, but there's just something so like it has so much character. It's a car with a lot of character. And I think that kind of translates to the same thing as your car. There's so much character involved in that car, like so much involvement in the car.
Yeah,
I think those are the things that make people want to keep a car. It's not
for sure.
necessarily just all the tech specs and all the stuff on paper.
No, it's a full experience. Just this car just stock. I was like, the sounds it makes, the way it delivers power, the way it handles, like, I don't know, dude. It's crazy. Like even just sitting here, like I can look around my car and just like I'm just like enjoy every little piece
Little
of
kid
it.
in a candy store.
Yeah, dude. This is my office.
All right, Wes. Well, it's been great. It's been great talking to you as normal. I mean, we always go on and on. We could sit here and talk for 3 hours. I think we get. Is there anything that you would like to say as far as just for the general public, just for the consumers out there, as far as detailing goes, cleaning your car care, or anything related to that?
I think the biggest thing is before you purchase, like don't just watch, don't get sucked into some ad. Even if you come across one of my ads, don't just come across it and go, "Oh, I want that," and buy it. I mean, you can, it's fine, but I think in general is like just do your research. There's actually some really cool like Facebook groups too that are out there have a good mixture of a lot of professionals and individuals, and everyone's gonna have an opinion. That's fine, but like ask questions and see where the trends are leaning, where people are tending to say, yeah, no, this brand or this particular product is really good. But like above all, make sure that whoever you buy from, you get support from. Don't just go buy from some big company because they offered it for $2 cheaper, or something like that. Like, when you through my website or through our store, I'm available to talk to. Like, not just email. Like, you can call and you can talk to me. You can stop in and you can talk to me. And I would also encourage people to buy locally. If there's a local, company that supplies stuff, especially if they're a detailer that sells stuff, dude, that's like the best because you get to build a relationship with someone. Maybe you need their help on something. I think that's really, really key is just doing the research and buying from the right sources, and to get out there and just have fun with the car. You know,
There's nothing better than a clean car.
yeah,
I'll tell
man.
you that. It looks sitting outside. You see your car out there. It looks good in the parking lot. Nothing better.
Yeah.
All right, Wes. I'll see you later.
Thanks for having me.